The crash in the desert. The sky burned red above planet Varlandine. Heat waves rose from the sand like invisible fire. The sun here was cruel, and the desert below stretched for thousands of miles with no sign of water or life. A single human spaceship tore through the clouds. Sparks flew from its engines. Alarms screamed inside the cockpit. Commander Ryle gritted his teeth. His forehead bled where a piece of metal had hit him during the explosion. His hands trembled on the controls, but he refused to let go. He was trained for this. He had survived worse. Maybe. Mayday, mayday, he shouted into the comms. This is Commander Ryle of the Earth Fleet. My ship is going down. Anyone out there, please respond. Nothing. Only static. The ship hit the ground hard. The crash sent sand flying high into the air. Metal screeched. The ship bounced, then skidded, then finally stopped half buried in the dune. Silence. Inside. Ryle groaned. His body was cut and bruised. One deep wound near his ribs soaked his shirt in blood. He knew it was bad. He needed help. Now. He crawled out of the wreck, dragging himself through the hot sand. His skin burned under the twin suns. His lips cracked. His vision blurred. After what felt like hours, he collapsed near a cactus grove. He could barely breathe. His heart slowed. He was dying just then. He heard something. Soft footsteps. A shadow moved across the sand. Ryle opened one eye. His vision was fuzzy, but he saw a figure standing over him, small, thin, glowing slightly under the sun. It wasn't human. It was an alien girl. She had green-tinted skin, large glowing yellow eyes, and black hair tied in long braids that shimmered with gold beads. She wore desert robes made from cactus fiber and animal skin, rough but beautiful in design. Around her waist hung a leather pouch, and in her hand, she held a sharp bone knife. She looked down at him with no fear. Ryle tried to speak, but blood came out instead. The girl didn't run. She knelt beside him and touched his wound gently. Human. She said in a soft, strange voice, "You are broken." He barely nodded. "I can help," she whispered, mostly to herself. She looked around, then quickly gathered a few cactus leaves, crushed them with a rock, and applied the green gel to his wound. It burned. Ryle grunted, his body shaking. But the girl was not done. She reached into her pouch, pulled out a sharp cactus thorn, then shockingly grabbed a braid of her own hair. With a hard pull, she tore it from her head. Ryle gasped weakly. Why would she do that? But the girl did not hesitate. She took the thorn, threaded her glowing hair through it like a needle, and brought it close to his wound. "No." "Stop," he whispered, but he was too weak. She looked into his eyes. "I will sew your life back into you." Then she began stitching his flesh. The pain was sharp, blinding. Ryle clenched his fists in the sand, but her hands were steady. Every stitch was perfect. She worked fast. Blood mixed with the green cactus gel and her glowing hair. Tears rolled down her cheeks, but she didn't stop. When it was done, she tied the final knot and pressed her palm to the wound. A strange blue light passed from her hand into his body. Ryle felt the pain dull. His breathing became easier. "You live," she said simply. Then, without warning, she stood and began walking away. "Wait," Ryle whispered. The girl turned slightly. "Who are you?" She looked at him for a long moment, then replied, "I am no one, but you are someone who should not die here." Then she vanished into the dunes. Ryle lay there, stunned. What just happened? Who was she? Why had she helped him? And how? Did she know how to sew with hair and thorns? He didn't know. But one thing was certain, this planet wasn't as empty as he thought, and that girl might be his only hope to survive. The painful stitch, the heat never stopped. The wind howled across the dunes like a beast, searching for prey. Commander Ryle opened his eyes again. He had passed out after the alien girl stitched his wound. The pain was still there, but something had changed. The bleeding had stopped. He wasn't cold anymore. In fact, his chest was warm, like something inside him was slowly healing. His hand moved to touch the stitches. They were real tight, careful, and made of glowing silver hair. Her hair. He sat up slowly, groaning from the pain. The cactus grove around him was quiet. The girl was gone. No footprints. No trail, just sand and silence. Why did she help me? He muttered. Suddenly, he heard a sound. A low growl. Ryle froze. From behind the rocks, a creature appeared, four-legged, covered in red scales, with a long tongue flicking from its jaws. Its eyes locked onto Ryle, desert predator. He grabbed the nearest thing he could, a broken pipe from the wreckage, and held it tight. The creature snarled and took a step forward. Then swish, a small object flew through the air and smacked the creature on the nose. It yelped and turned. The alien girl was back. She stood tall on the dune, holding another rock in her hand. Leave him, she commanded. The beast growled once more, then turned and ran into the sands. Ryle stared at her, stunned. You came back. I never left far, she said. She walked toward him, her movements graceful but cautious. She knelt beside him again and checked the wound. Your body fights to live. That is good, he winced. What did you do to me? I closed the hole, she said plainly. You were bleeding your life into the dirt. That is not how you die. He looked into her glowing yellow eyes. Why help me? I'm human. I thought aliens hate us. She looked away. Some do. Many do. But I don't know enough to hate. I only know. You looked like a child left in fire. She gently placed a cool cactus pad over the stitches. Used your own hair, he said. That must have hurt. She shrugged. It grows again. What's your name? He asked. She hesitated, then whispered, Thali. I'm Ryle. He offered his hand. She looked at it like it was a strange tool, then slowly placed her hand in his. Her fingers were warm. He smiled, but she pulled her hand back quickly. You should not stay here. The beasts smell blood. They will return. I can't walk far, he said. She stood. Then I will carry you. You can't, he said, trying to laugh. I'm 3 times your size. Thali narrowed her eyes. We will see. 2. His shock, she called a name into the desert wind. Moments later, a creature appeared, tall, like a cross between a camel and a lizard, with smooth red scales and 4 sturdy legs. It bent down before her. My sandrunner, she said proudly. Her name is Eula. With great effort, she helped Ryle onto the creature's back. She climbed up behind him and wrapped her arms around his chest to steady him. Hold on, she whispered. They rode off into the golden dunes. Hours passed. Suns dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the sand. Ryle leaned back against her. Where are we going? To a place with water and shade. He closed his eyes. Thank you, Thali. You saved me. She didn't answer. Her arms tightened slightly around him. Then she whispered, I should not have. What? She shook her head. You are not supposed to be here. If my people find you, they may not let you live. Ryle opened his eyes. Why? Because long ago, humans came in metal ships. They mined our deserts, poisoned our wells, and left. He went quiet. I was born after, she added. I only know what the old ones say. They call humans sky thieves, but I saw your face. You were dying. You cried like we cry. You bled like we bleed. So you helped me? No, she whispered. I chose you. Ryle turned slightly to look at her. What does that mean? Thali looked into the distance. In my tribe, when a girl gives her hair to heal someone, it is a promise. A life debt. I didn't ask for that, he said gently. I know, she said. But now, your life is part of mine. The silence between them grew heavy. Ryle looked at the red sky ahead. This desert was more than he expected. And the girl behind him was no ordinary survivor, that she had risked everything for him. And now, he owed her more than just thanks. He owed her his life. The sand beasts, the desert was quiet, but it wasn't safe. Thali led the sand runner into a rocky canyon hidden between two tall cliffs. She helped Ryle off the creature's back and guided him into a small cave shaded from the twin suns. Inside, the air was cool and dry. Rails sighed with relief as he leaned back against the wall, his wound still aching, but sealed thanks to her. Tal. I placed her hands on the cave floor and whispered a few words. A flat stone shifted aside, revealing a shallow pit filled with water. She scooped some with her hands and held it to Ryle's lips. "Drink slowly," she said. He drank. The water tasted like minerals and dust, but it was life. "How did you find this cave?" "I used to hide here when I was small," she replied. "From beasts, from storms, from people." She stood and walked to the entrance, watching the open desert. "Is someone following us?" Ryle asked, trying to sit up. "No," she said, "but something is." A low rumble echoed through the rocks. Ryle froze. "What was that?" Thali didn't move. "Sand beasts," he frowned. "What are sand beasts?" She turned toward him. "Hunters, big, fast. They live under the sand and listen for movement. If they hear steps or feel vibrations, they rise." Another rumble. This time closer. "Don't breathe too loud," she warned. Ryle stayed still, heart pounding. Suddenly, the cave trembled. Loose stones fell from above. Something outside was pushing through the sand. The earth bulged like something massive was crawling beneath the surface. Then, silence. Ryle and Thali stared at each other. Nothing moved for several heartbeats. Then, the sand exploded. A huge creature burst from the ground. It had thick gray skin, rows of needle-sharp teeth, and no eyes. Its body was like a worm mixed with a dragon, and it screeched so loudly that the walls shook. It sniffed the air. Its tongue flicked like a whip. It was searching for them. Thali grabbed a small pouch from her waist and threw it to the far side of the canyon. The pouch hit the rocks with a soft crack. The creature roared and lunged toward the sound, crashing into the canyon wall. "Now!" Thali hissed, pulling Ryle to his feet. "We run!" "I can't," he gasped. "My side." She didn't wait. She threw his arm over her shoulders and dragged him out the back of the cave, into a narrow tunnel that sloped downward. The ground shook again. The beast had found them. It was following. They stumbled through the tight stone passage. Ryle's boots scraped the walls. Every noise felt like a shout. Behind them, the sand beast smashed into the rocks. Stones crumbled. The tunnel began to collapse. "We're not going to make it," Ryle shouted. "We will," Thali snapped. "Move." They reached a dead end. Tal. I pushed her hand against a symbol carved into the wall, a glowing circle. The wall split open, just wide enough for them to squeeze through. They tumbled into a deeper cave chamber. The door slammed shut behind them. Boom. The beast hit the outside wall. Dust fell from above, but the rock held. For now, Ryle lay on the floor, gasping for breath. Thali knelt beside him, pressing a fresh leaf of cactus over his stitches. "Your wound opened slightly, but it will hold." Ryle looked up at her. "You saved me, again." She didn't answer. Her hands were shaking now, her eyes wide with fear. "I thought you weren't afraid of anything," he said. "I am," she replied softly. "What?" "I'm afraid of losing someone I chose to protect." Ryle looked into her eyes. He saw something there, something deeper than duty. "You didn't just stitch my wound," he said slowly. "You tied our lives together, didn't you?" She nodded once. Outside, the beast roared again. Thali stood, picked up a spear from the wall, and walked to the stone door. "You rest. I will keep watch." "You can't fight that thing alone," Ryle warned. "I don't plan to," she said, her voice steady now. "I plan to wait, Sand beasts are stupid. If they don't find food, they return to the dunes. But what if it waits? Thali gave a small smile. Then it gets bored. Like all beasts, it wants easy prey. She sat at the door and placed the spear across her lap. For hours, they waited. The beast circled outside. It growled. It scratched the rock, but it never broke in. When the suns finally set and the desert grew cold, the sounds faded. Ryle spoke softly from behind her. We lived. For now, she replied. Then with her back still to him, she whispered, I hope you're strong enough to walk tomorrow. The worst is still ahead. The hidden village morning on planet Varla 9 was never gentle. Cold winds swept through the desert like knives. The suns had just begun to rise again, casting long red shadows across the cliffs. Ryle groaned as he sat up. His body ached. The stitches across his side were tight, but the bleeding had stopped. Thali was already awake. She stood at the edge of the cave, watching the dunes quietly. Her long braids blew in the wind. She held her spear across her back like a warrior butt. Her eyes were soft. You didn't sleep, Ryle said. She didn't turn. No. You were guarding me again? I was guarding the world from you, she replied, half smiling. Ryle chuckled weakly. Do all alien girls talk like philosophers? Thali didn't laugh. Instead, she said, It's time. We must go to the village. Ryle stiffened. Your village? Is that safe? No, she said, finally turning toward him. But there is no other way. They rode Eula again, the sandrunner moving quickly across the dunes. Ryle had his arms slung over Thali's shoulder for support. Every bump sent pain through his ribs, but he stayed quiet. He didn't want to seem weak. Will your people help me? He asked. Thali hesitated. They might, she said. If they don't see you first. What does that mean? It means, she said softly, you must wear this. She handed him a hooded cloak. The fabric was rough and smelled of sand and fire, but it covered him well. Only his boots showed, and she even threw sand on them to make them look alien-made. Walk like you're tired, she said. And don't speak unless I tell you. Ryle nodded. By midday, the hidden village appeared. It was carved into the side of a canyon, where waterfalls dripped down from underground springs. Homes were built from rock and cactus fiber. Tall wooden spikes marked the borders. Alien children played near pools of water. Traders moved goods on the backs of large beetle creatures. It looked peaceful, but Ryle could feel it. This place didn't like outsiders. As they entered, guards in bone armor stepped forward. Their eyes narrowed. One of them, a tall, muscular woman with white-painted skin, raised a spear. Who comes from the east? Thali lifted her chin. It is I, Thali of the Sandpath. The guard narrowed her eyes. You left 3 moons ago. You were not expected back. I return with news, Thali said calmly, and offerings. The guard looked at the cloaked figure behind her. Who is this? She asked coldly. A sand brother, Thali lied. From beyond the black ridge, he was wounded by a dune. Worm, I stitched him myself. The guard studied them both. Then she grunted and stepped aside. Your mother will not be pleased. Thali didn't reply. They walked through the village quietly. Ryle kept his head down. He could feel stares burning into his back. Is your mother important here? He whispered. She is the village speaker, Thali said. She leads the warriors. Oh great, Ryle muttered. So I'm sneaking into the home of the boss. Thali led him to a small stone hut near the canyon wall. Inside, it was cool and dark. She motioned for him to sit on a thick animal hide. I need to speak to someone, she said. Stay hidden. If anyone asks, say nothing. Ryle nodded. She stepped outside, and he was alone. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. Ryle listened to the quiet hum of the village. He heard alien voices outside, laughter, distant drums. Then footsteps. The curtain moved. But it wasn't THAL. An old alien man stepped inside. His skin was wrinkled and dry like cracked leather. His eyes were silver and blind. But he sniffed the air and smiled. "You are not one of us," the old man said. Ryle tensed. He stayed silent. "Don't worry," the man chuckled. "I am. Not your enemy. I am just an old speaker." He walked forward, holding a wooden staff. "I smelled your blood the moment you entered the canyon, and something else. The scent of Thali's hair in your skin." "She saved me," Ryle said softly. "I know," the old man replied. "And for that, she has broken a sacred rule." Ryle stood. "What rule?" The man's eyes turned serious. "She gave her hair to a human. That means she chose you. The village will not accept this." "But I didn't ask for it." "It doesn't matter. You are now bound." Just then, Thali returned. Her face was pale. Her hands shook. "They know," she whispered. "Who?" Ryle asked. "Everyone. My mother. She demanded I explain why I used sacred healing on a stranger." "I couldn't lie," the old man sighed. "You must leave before nightfall." "But he can barely walk." Thali shouted. "You don't understand," the man said. "If the warriors learn he is human, they will not kill him quickly." Thali turned to Ryle. "There's only one way to protect you now." "What is it?" Ryle asked. She reached into her robe and pulled out a glowing crystal pendant. "By the laws of my people, if I declare you my bonded soul, they cannot harm you." Ryle blinked. "What does that mean?" She looked into his eyes. "It means, Ryle, you and I must act as if we are married." Secrets of the Hair Ryle stared at Thali, unsure if he had heard her correctly. "Married?" he repeated. Thali didn't flinch. Her eyes held no humor. The glowing crystal pendant pulsed in her hand like it had a heartbeat of its own. "In my people's laws," she said, "a bonded soul is not just a mate. It is a shield. If I claim you before the fire circle, no warrior, no matter how high, can hurt you without hurting me." Ryle took a shaky breath. "And they'll actually respect that?" "They will be furious," said the old speaker, who still stood by the entrance, "but they won't touch him. Not without tearing our oldest laws." Ryle looked between them both. "But this is all fake, right? Just a way to stay alive?" Thali didn't answer right away. She lowered her eyes. "It can be fake if you want it to be." The silence was heavy. Finally, Ryle nodded. "Then let's do it. If it keeps us both alive, I'm in." Thali gave a small nod, but her hands trembled as she placed the glowing pendant around his neck. The fire circle was the heart of the village. When night came, every home went dark. All light was drawn toward the center, where a giant fire blazed beneath the open sky. The village elders, warriors, and hunters gathered in silence around it. Thali stepped into the circle, her chin high, her robes wrapped tight. Ryle followed. Close, hood still drawn, but now with the crystal glowing at his chest. Her mother stood waiting. Speaker Vera was tall, proud, and fierce. Her hair was wrapped into tight braids lined with silver. Her armor was made from bone and steel. She held a staff in one hand and in the other, the law tablet of the tribe. "Thali of the Sand Path," she called loudly. "You left this village without permission. You returned with a wounded stranger. Now you seek to bind your soul to his." Thali bowed once. "Yes, Speaker. I declare him my life bond." Gasps echoed through the circle. "You know the cost," her mother said, her voice cold. "Your name will be scratched from the sand scroll. You will no longer walk in the warrior line." "I know," Thali replied. "Then speak the words." Thali turned to Ryle. Her voice shook slightly, but her eyes never left his. "I offer my hair, my shadow, and my silence to you. From this night, your breath is mine. Your wounds are mine. Your life is mine." The pendant at Ryle's chest grew warmer. Ryle swallowed. He wasn't sure what to say, but she had taught him the response earlier. He spoke carefully. I receive your hair, your shadow, and your silence. I will not break them. From this night, your pain is mine, your trust is mine. Your soul is safe with me." The flames turned blue. A sign. The bond had been accepted, but not everyone was happy. Vera stepped forward slowly. Her eyes locked on Ryle's face. "You, lift your hood." Ryle hesitated. Thali looked at him and nodded once. He pulled back the cloth. Gasps turned to shouts. "He's human! Sky thief! Liar!" Warriors stepped forward with their hands on their weapons. Thali's mother raised her staff and slammed it into the ground. Silence. The circle quieted. The flames danced higher. "Yes," Vera said coldly. "He is human, but he is now Thali's bonded. We will not spill blood under sacred vows." Her voice was calm, but her eyes burned with fury. "This is not over." She added, "Your presence here is poison, human. I suggest you stay in the shadows." Later that night, Thali and Ryle sat alone near the edge of the canyon. The village was still. Stars filled the sky like a million silent watchers. Ryle turned to her. "You gave up everything, didn't you?" She nodded slowly. "I knew they wouldn't forgive me. But I didn't do this just to save your life." He blinked. "Then, why?" Thali reached behind her and pulled out a small black ribbon dot. It held the piece of hair she had torn out, the same hair she used to stitch his wound. "This," she whispered, "is not just a thread. In our tribe, hair holds memory, energy, a part of the soul." "I don't understand." Thali looked at him. "You carry a part of me inside you now. I will feel if you are in pain, if you are dying. That is the price of stitching someone with sacred hair." Ryle looked down at his chest, where the stitches lay under his shirt. "You gave me your soul, to sew me back together." She smiled. Sadly, it was the only way. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he whispered, "I don't want this to be fake anymore." Her breath caught. "What do you mean?" "I mean, you didn't just save my life. You taught me to care again. You made me want to live." Thali looked at him, really looked, and for the first time, she let her hand rest in his dot, not as a healer, not as a protector, but as someone who had given a part of herself and found it returned. The trial of fire, the sky over Varlin 9 turned. Red at dawn, not the soft red of sunrise, but the deep, angry red of judgment. The fire circle blazed once more, but this time, it wasn't for bonding. It was for testing. A trial of fire. Ryle stood at the center of the gathering, his face covered in dust, his stitched side aching. Around him, villagers shouted, cursed, spat at the ground. Some held torches, others held stones. But all had the same look in their eyes. Hatred for a human. Beside him, Thali stood tall. Her face was calm, but her fists were clenched. Her mother, Speaker Vera, stood before them, arms crossed, staff in hand. "By our laws," Vera said, her voice echoing across the canyon, "no outsider may enter this village without proving their worth. Bond or no bond." Thali stepped forward. "He saved nothing. He harmed no one. And yet he walks freely in our sacred land," Vera replied coldly. "He must walk the fire path. If he survives, he may stay. If not, she didn't need to finish." The fire path was a narrow bridge made of scorched stone and lava glass, stretched across a deep chasm within the canyon. Beneath it boiled a stream of molten liquid, glowing bright orange and yellow. The path was long and deadly, but it wasn't just heat that made it dangerous. The trial was done blindfolded. Ryle stood at the edge, a strip of black cloth tied over his eyes. He couldn't see anything, just blackness and the sound of crackling fire below. The heat was unbearable. Sweat rolled down his neck. "You must walk forward," Vera announced. "One wrong step and you fall. Your only guide will be the voice of your bonded." Thali walked to Ryle's side and pressed her hand on his. "I'll be with you," she whispered. "I promise." He gave a shaky breath. What if I can't do this? You've already done the impossible, she said. You survived me sewing your chest shut with cactus thorns. He gave a weak smile. Fair point. Then she stepped back. The trial began. Left foot. Forward, Thali called. Ryle obeyed. Now right, but slower. His boot touched hot stone. He winced. The bridge burned with every step, but he moved. Carefully. The crowd watched in silence. Thali continued, her voice steady but soft. Straight. 2 steps, good. Now stop, left side is crumbling. Ryle froze. Dust broke away under his foot. Stones fell into the fire below, hissing. His heart pounded. His hands trembled. Thali. He whispered. I don't know if I can do this. You can, trust me. Her voice was like a rope in the darkness. He held onto it with everything. Step by step. He moved forward. Then the wind rose. Hot gusts slammed into him, almost knocking him off balance. He gasped. I can't hear you. Thali cupped her hands. Lean forward. Crawl if you have to. There's a sharp bend. Go slow. He dropped to his hands and knees, crawling across burning stone. His palms blistered instantly. The pain was unbearable, but he kept going. Below him, fire raged. Halfway across, the shouting began. Villagers jeered. He'll fall. Human trash. Let the lava judge him. But Thali's voice cut through the noise. Straight. Just a few more. Listen only to me. Ryle's vision pulsed with pain. He bit down hard. The blindfold stuck to his sweaty face. I trust you, he whispered. Just don't stop talking. I won't, she said. 2 more steps. He took 1. Then another. Then silence. Nothing but heat and wind. He froze. Thali? He called. No. Answer. Thali? Still nothing. Panic hit him like a wave. She was gone. In truth, Thali had been grabbed. A warrior had pulled her back, trying to silence her. She struggled, but she couldn't speak. The crowd laughed. Ryle swayed at the edge. He took a step forward, and the stone crumbled under him. His foot dropped. He flailed. No! He shouted, but just before he lost balance, her voice returned louder. Stronger, desperate, right, jump right now. Without thinking, Ryle jumped sideways. His boot hit solid ground. He fell forward onto a cold stone slab. He ripped the blindfold off. He was on the other side. He had made it. The crowd fell into stunned silence. Thali broke free and ran to him. Fall into her knees beside him. You did it, she whispered, tears in her eyes. You made it. He looked up at her, sweat pouring down his face. You didn't leave me. I never will, she whispered. Even Vera stood frozen. For a moment, even she looked unsure. The trial was passed. By law. Ryle was now one of them, but the looks on the villagers' faces told him something else. He might have passed their fire, but their hearts would take longer to melt. The warrior's choice. The canyon wind was quiet for the first time in days. No drums, no shouting, no fire circle. Just silence. Commander Ryle sat by the edge of a cliff, legs crossed, hands resting in his lap. His sides still ached from the stitched wound. His palms were blistered from the fire path. But his mind was heavier than his body. He stared out across the endless dunes of Varlin, glowing under the twin moons. Behind him, the village rested, but uneasily. Since his trial of fire, no one had dared touch him, but no one had welcomed him either. He was now one of them by law, but not by heart. Not yet. Footsteps approached from behind. He knew them by sound alone. Thali, he said softly. She sat beside him without a word. Her braids swayed in the breeze. She looked tired, older somehow. Like the weight of her choices had aged her. Your mother still doesn't trust me, Ryle said. She trusts law, Thali replied. Not you, he nodded. Can't say I blame her. They sat together in silence for a long time. Finally, Thali spoke. You passed every test. You risked your life. You bonded with me. But do you still want to leave? Ryle turned to her. Do you want me to? She didn't answer. Her hands fidgeted in her lap. I was trained for space missions, he said. I was supposed to map dead worlds, repair satellites, not fight beasts or sew myself back together with alien hair. You didn't sew yourself, she corrected. I did. They both smiled, but then he turned serious. Back on Earth, I was just a number, a uniform, a tool. He looked at her, really looked. Here I bled. I burned. I was broken. And you still chose to save me. I would choose you again, Thali said quietly. Ryle looked down at the glowing crystal pendant hanging from his neck, the sign of their bond. A vow made not just to survive, but to protect each other, even if the world refused to understand. Later. That evening, the village gathered for a final meeting. Speaker Vera stood before them all, her face stone-like, her armor gleaming in the firelight. Beside her stood Thali and Ryle. The mood was tense. Even the children stayed quiet. Vera raised her staff. By tradition, the bonded soul may now choose his path, she declared. Leave and your bond is dissolved. Stay and you become one of us, fully, not in name, but in spirit. She looked at Ryle, eyes sharp. What will you choose, human? Ryle stepped forward. He looked at every face in the crowd, faces that hated him, feared him. But now listened. I didn't come here by choice, he began. I crashed. I was dying. I had no plan, no hope. He paused, but someone found me. A girl who could have walked away. Instead, she tore out her own hair and sewed my wound. Shut with a cactus thorn. Gasps from the crowd. Even some of the warriors lowered their weapons. She didn't know me. She had no reason to care, but she did. And because of her, I lived. He turned to Thali. I thought strength meant power, winning, controlling. But real strength is what she showed: compassion, courage, sacrifice. He faced the crowd again. You see a human. A sky thief, but all I am is a man who wants to live with honor, and I choose to stay. The canyon echoed with silence. Then a single sound broke it. A hand striking the staff once. Via IRA. She stepped forward. Slowly. Then, to everyone's shock, she knelt and pressed her staff to the ground before Ryle. He has chosen, she said. And I will honor it. Gasps again. Whispers. Confusion. Then, one by one, others began kneeling. The old speaker. A hunter. A few children. Then the rest. The firelight reflected in their eyes, not with hatred, but something new. Respect. That night, there was no fear. There was music. The village lit soft blue lanterns. Children danced. Elders sang. Ryle and Thali sat near the fire, shoulder to shoulder. You're one of us now, she whispered. He smiled. And you're stuck with me. Thali looked at him, her eyes glowing in the dark. Good, she said. Because I never wanted to be alone. He reached for her hand and held it tight. For the first time, not in fear, but in peace. The desert around them stretched far and wide, but it no longer felt empty. Because together, they had rewritten law even older than the fire path. Trust can grow where hatred once ruled, and sometimes survival is only the beginning of something beautiful.